Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show known only as Funday Monday. It's part 2 of daily number 546, where we don't learn to be a better gamer today. We learn to have fun and to dick around. We've already gotten the chance to see a little bit of introductory action. We're going to see yet more introductory action. Continuing into part 2, our hero in the top left corner will be none other than Jaw Cub. Yes, Jaw Cub spawning in the top left corner. Down in the bottom right, we have Crizzle, who no doubt faux shizzle is a great Zerg plizzle. There's a lot of words for which that doesn't work. The map is Akalon Wastes, a very commonly enjoyed map on Dat Dare, Heart of the Swarm. And we'll just speed things up a bit. Do a little information presentation. Whoa, Jaw Cub builds the loudest pylon of all time. This is always a interesting challenge on a noob map. How do we wall off the ramp? How does we? How do we? It shan't be a problem. Now, you see, most players, when they send out the scouting drone, it is to try to get this expansion up. And because Crizzle so cleverly has spotted that there is a probe there, oftentimes players will elect to build it at the third base to avoid this dilemma. And that's exactly what Crizzle does. Almost, very nearly. This is a third... I mean, it is certainly... At least it's by minerals. And there it is. Jaw Cub doing the smart thing, constructing his gateway and nexus straight off the bat, because Jaw Cub is a man. Jaw Cub even getting a gas before he builds his forge. Jaw Cub even scouting spawning pool and the extractor and no expansion. Right now, Jaw Cub basically in the dark is going to be convinced at this point that his opponent is trying to do some sort of rush strategy. Now, amazingly enough, Jaw Cub sends this probe to this watchtower and is unable to spot this expansion. Now, let's talk a little bit about strats, okay? Let's do a little bit of strats. Crizzle up here at the top side has a base. Crizzle down here has a base. What has Jaw Cub seen? Jaw Cub has seen everything indicating that there is an early rush attack happening. But in reality, Crizzle is going for a macro game, going for all the bases. However, here's where the mind games really kick in. He thinks you're rushing when you're actually going macro, and then you know what you do, guys? You just rush him anyways. Up in this top side, Crizzle. He's gonna do it. Roach Warren. Yes. Roach Warren. You might say this is a defensive Roach Warren. No. This is a hidden, pre-preparatory rush Roach Warren. And meanwhile, Jaw Cub up at the top side, doing an expand in the style of Grubby, in the style of White Raw, in the style of one of those Protosses who's just, oh my god, their balls must be the size of milk sacks, taking 3 bases with how many units? No units! But for some reason they're always able to pull it off. That's because they're not afraid. They have a mothership core. It looks sweet, it can shoot down, and it will provide them all the defense that they'll ever need. Yes. And in the meantime, the infinite Roach Rush incoming. The delayed Expo, trick him into thinking you're rushing, go 3 bases and then rush him anyway, mind game is about to be unleashed. I want to talk a little bit about storytelling mechanics, because this is something that casters have to deal with all the time. Let us say, for instance, that there is an attack strategy that is very difficult to defend. And we look at the defender's base, and we as casters see, oh yeah, he's going to be able to defend it. No problem. His defenses will be finished 5 seconds before the attack comes. I shouldn't say that, right? That's actually bad to say. I want to withhold a little information. Because if I say, alright, there's an attack that's going to come, and his defense will be done in 5 seconds, there's nothing to worry about, then there's no tension, there's no excitement, there's no fun. But what we end up saying is we say things like, it's going to be an extremely close call. Because we know it's going to be close. And then 5 seconds before the attack comes, ooh, we've created tension. Yes! There's a multitude of storytelling problems that exist in any realm of fiction or improvisational storytelling, any of them. And one of the most interesting ones is, how do you present information to the audience in a natural way? Right? In a natural way. In other words, how do you present information to the audience without an info dump? You don't want someone to stand up there and just be like Wikipedia and just like say stuff. Just like you want it to be like a conversation, right? You kind of want to have some mechanism for doing that. So, for instance, in Shakespeare, we have like the classic confidant. How do we get the thoughts of the main character? We have him talk to someone suave with a kick-ass name like Horatio. And then they have a conversation. Oh, how amazing. This is so great that we have this. In anime, there's this interesting way that they have the confidant. Well, it's not really a confidant. Let me tell you what's a very common theme in anime. It's a character that I want to call the Screamer. It's generally a boy from the age of like 10 to 17. And everyone in the anime world is generally very stern and mysterious. You have a man who stands still, and whenever anyone asks him a question, he doesn't say anything. The wind just blows and his hair like does that. And he just has like some sort of crazy thing, you know, like the servant in Blood Plus who has like a coffin as a weapon. And he just sits there all cool. And then there's the girl with amnesia, and she's like, I don't know what's going on. She can't give any information, so they have this guy run up, and he just yells at people. He's like, what's going on? Why aren't you talking? Well, what are these superpowers? Where are we? And he just yells at people. He just goes nuts. He's just constantly freaking out. And when he runs up to people, someone could be standing there. You know what the Screamer does? He runs up and he holds his arms back like this, and he's like, you can't do that! You can't go to the castle! Why are you leaving us? And his arms are back. My thighs are already burning from this position. I gotta stand up, man. And you know what the Screamer's additional primary role is? Other than to extract information out of people by yelling? He gets himself into unbelievably dumb situations where he is completely defenseless, and the protagonist, the fourth most interesting character in the series, has to come to his rescue. Does that sound about right? Now, a lot of people in chat think that I don't like anime, that I'm bashing on anime as a genre. I love anime. I watch so much anime. Claymore, woo! Love Claymore. Watched all Claymore twice because I love monsters. But I still sit there and wonder, why do they tell stories like that? Interesting storytelling techniques and storytelling tropes. In the meantime, Crizzle. Faux shizzle. Gathering up all his roaches, getting ready for the encroachment. Jawcup doing the logical thing, building a pair of Stargates, because hey, it's Funday Monday, we gotta build them air units. In the meantime, Jawcup has walled himself in up there. But of course, any strategy always has to account for what if my opponent goes and tries to fucking kill me. Oh my god. Ugh. Jawcub the Great, doing his best to hold on in the face of adversity. Shooting away. And this, right now the Mothership Corps is very much so playing the role of the hapless, defenseless young boy, the Screamer of the anime, who's caught himself in between a rock and a hard place. Everything's going terribly, and all our character can do is shoot with a gun, which of course is meaningless when you're up against some sort of terrible demonic presence. And here's Jawcub. Come on! Just die! What's going on? I ran out of bullets! Etc., 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 etc. Fortunately, Jawcub gets his skill ray out just in time to kill these roaches, but not just in time to prevent round 2 of units from arriving at the front door and wreaking that there havoc. Poor Nexus 2, poor Nexus 1. It's okay, we got a skill ray, Mentor skill ray, racking up some kills for himself. Still plenty more than Mr. Mothership Corps. Now, many of you are noting that he built 2 warp gates. Totally. I get it. I know what you're thinking. He has a couple stalkers. This is not a Funday Monday. I'm bending the rules. I'm bending the rules. Because this game I liked. I liked this game. Look at these games. People are saying stalkers. People are freaking out. How can I explain this one to them? It's okay. It's okay. We're just not going to worry about it that much. We're going to pretend that didn't happen. This doesn't relate to anime in any way. But this, fortunately, despite the best efforts of Jawcub to defend himself with gateways, he's building Stargates, which I think is quite... building Void Rays, which I think is quite noble. And right now it's time to begin the hardest journey ever. Getting into the safe zone. But of course, getting into the safe zone will be turned in tension all the way up to the max. As Krizzle is trying to break in from the other side, which pair of destructible rocks will go down first? The answer is this one, but the tension is high. Poor Jawcub. Has to just kill off Rax. And in the meantime, Krizzle has this expansion that's not actually a base. It's a forward leading platform for his rushes. Same with this hatch, but not with this one. Krizzle has finally managed to establish control and macro up. And Krizzle does have the supply lead by a little bit. Jawcub has just managed to reseize it after losing 17 workers in many buildings. The units lost half. We see that surprisingly even. And this is one of the reasons why we like to build 3 Nexuses first, or as I guess grammatical people would say, 3 Nexi. We want to get 3 Nexi up early, so that way, even if we end up losing 2 of those Nexi, one of them still ends up staying alive, right? It's like if we created 3 online dating profiles. Even if that random girl found 2 of them unappealing, there's a strong chance that she'll like the 3rd one. Welcome to dating by a sociopath. Just create like 3 different accounts with 3 different personalities and find out which one she messages, and then all you have to do is just be that way. It's easy, right? Be dishonest to yourself, fellas. Oh, perfect. I nailed it. All right. Daddy, I like a girl. Oh, son. What's her name? It's Felicity, Daddy. Oh, I dated a Felicity or 2 in my time. Let me tell you how to ask her out, son. First, get online. Make a profile. But Dad, I'm 9. Alright. Apparently, there's some pylon placement problems. And, you know, a lot of people would want to call that an Artosis pylon. But when the apocalypse has already happened, and something goes wrong, you can't say something like, you should have planned ahead. Doesn't really work. You know, we're in the hotel that's barricaded and there's zombies crowding around, and someone says, why is the elevator broken? I don't want to take the stairs. You'd think they would have a backup generator for the elevator. This apocalypse is a total drag. Jawcub, in a flurry of adrenaline, moves in for the attack, has to retreat, and will soon rebuild. In the meantime, Aspire. You know, I was thinking a little bit about the design of games over the weekend as well, and a lot of things will feel unbalanced until you actually do them, right? Like Mutalisks might feel, you know, a little bit unfair if they're moving a little too fast. Oh, look at this. Jawcub finds the critical hidden 3rd base, the hidden frontal relay platform for the rushes. You might feel like Mutalisks are a little strong, or you might think to yourself, God, you know, I watched that game in the GSL where those Phoenixes were so good. That's totally unfair. Blizzard needs to nerf that. But the fact is that when you get the chance to use those units, it's gonna feel fair. Am I right? Am I right or am I right? Or am I right? There's that there hatchery going down. Krizzle, of course, knows that this is the vital to control 3rd base. This might be safer, but we're gonna take that anyways, and let's be honest. This has not 1 but 2 extractors in it, man. Let's maximize our value. So Krizzle ends up sweeping in, doing a little bit of damage. And of course, with the skill raise charging up with use of the E button, which is oftentimes known as the micro button, Krizzle's going to do as much damage as he possibly humanly can before returning out. And of course, with 23 workers killed, Krizzle is not leading in the economy by a long shot, but he's doing quite well. He's doing quite well. And we see Jawcub dedicating to Funday Monday. Now, in this email, Jawcub said, I was really worried I was going to lose, so I built some backup gateways, and if I used them, I wouldn't submit it to Funday Monday, and I carefully vetted this game to ensure that indeed he didn't. I know it's a little bending of the rules, but God, you gotta forgive me. You gotta forgive me, you guys. So in the meantime, we get some photon overcharge, and air versus air, air wins. Again, the Mutalisk, oh my god, that's so imba. That's so broken. That's so anti-fair. I'm so upset. I'm gonna create a forum thread. I'm gonna go play Skyrim because it's single player. And there's no one to lose to, and if I do, I hit the quick load button. Seriously. How many of you stole every basket and every tomato in existence? I've been caught. I'm gonna go to jail. No, I'm not. F7. Jawcub doing his best to assault the no doubt essential forward mining location from Krizzle. Every basket and every tomato, guys. Let's go. And of course the Mutalisks, which have since heretofore been undeniably imbalanced, overpoweringly terrifying. Suddenly we end up with some number of Phoenixes. And this is where Jawcub says what we would all say. No, it isn't. I guess that happened at a different part in this episode. Whoops. Plan ahead, Day 9. Watch all those replays so many times, so that way you can time your jokes. That's fine. I'm setting up the story. It's a technique we use in casting. Oh, whew. Day 9! Why do you keep bringing this up? It's the Screamer. Oh my god. His fists are clenched. There's hair covering bits of his face. He's always wearing the same outfit over the course of 8 seasons. And he's yelling for information. Well, I'll tell you. I wanted to build up that tension, Sir Screamer. We see the Mutalisk count from Krizzle rising. All anti-air of all sorts. Couple of Zealots. These did get built one at a time. Relax. He's not bending, breaking everything. Okay. Okay, guys. Okay. I did some foreshadowing. That's a technique for building tension, or when we fuck up. Let's see what happens. Here it comes. You remember those Mutalisks that we're calling anti-fair, imbalanced, need to be nerfed? Well, yeah. Yeah, I know what you're saying. I know. I've been there. I've been there too. In the moment where they sweep in for yet another attack. They kill off the probe that's at the expansion, and we're too lazy to send another one. And then what happens? You just start screaming in your room, Phoenixes are so fair! This is fair! They're faster than Mutalisks. They outrange Mutalisks. They can shoot in any direction, which the Mutalisks cannot do, and I have 10 times more of them. Phoenixes are fine. Don't change my race. Right? Right? Isn't that how learning works? When it feels amazing, keep that the way it is. That is the way it needs to be. Woo! Every single player is like, they need to nerf the Infestors. You know what Zerg players say? Nah, Infestors are honestly a little bit too expensive. Just a little, you know, because a lot of times when I build my infestation pit, I have to, like, wait a while to get 15 Infestors. Do you realize how hard it is to defend attacks with less than 15 Infestors? Blizzard needs to do something about that. Blizzard does not need to do something about that. You know what a game designer's actual job is? To make your life more difficult, to be inconvenient to you. That is the goal of a game designer. And you're like, no, it's not. It's to create fun. Here's what game designers do. Game designers create a game like golf, where the goal of golf is to put a little ball into somewhat of a larger hole. That's it. You know what the easiest way to do that would be? It would be to pick the ball up and to set it in the hole. And yet, for some reason, we don't do that in golf. We start you hundreds of yards away. And you can't pick up the ball and throw the ball. You have to use this weird malady thing, and there's like 15 billion different kinds of malady things, and you have to wear a stupid outfit while you do it. I don't know, something like that gives you skill, and you have to hit it from like so far away, and there's obstacles like sand and trees and nature. The wind is happening, there's no control over that, and yet we all love golf. Hopefully someone here there's like one golf fan who's like, golf! And everyone's like, what's nature? But yeah. Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I like old school games, right? None of this like new school AAA game stuff. You guys played Prince of Persia? The recent Prince of Persia, not Sands of Time Prince of Persia, but like it was just Prince of Persia, where you would fall off a cliff and the girl who was with you would fly down and grab you and set you back on the cliff and be like, you didn't fall. You wouldn't lose a life. You would just put back onto the platform. The game was like, no, you didn't die. Just don't worry about it. Do you remember what old games were like? There would be something that was like the wrong color. Like, it would be blue. And you're like, what happens if you touch the blue thing? And you touch it, and you would die. And your life count would go down by 1. And there was that horrifying moment as a kid where you'd think, is this one of these games where when you get to 1 life, you're over? Or can I go to 0 lives? Because with some games, you didn't know. And when that sucker ran out, the game was done. It would say, game over. The most rewarding part about playing Mega Man 2 for me as a kid was getting to a level I'd never been to before. And you know what the reward was? Oh my god, look, the colors are different here. Nick, come here. I was Kermit the Frog as a youth. Come on, Nick. Bring him in. Come on. Impossible Games. Kid Chameleon on the Sega Genesis. Has anyone beat that game ever? Battletoads, Silver Surfer. Yeah, this is the game. These are the games that my mother bought me as a child. It was utter torture, these games. But I remember them. Do you remember the first time you got to Dr. Wily's castle and that rad music came on and it was like, welcome. Welcome to the sweetest level ever, and and you just be like, holy shit, like sensory overload. There's like 8 kids that have ever been to this level in all time, and like all AAA games, when you die, it's like, you didn't die, just keep playing. We want you to complete the story. Most games are like, fuck you, you'll never know what happens. And you're like, oh, you had to call a hotline that charged you $1 a second to just get some clues as to how to get to the end. It was awesome, and far and away the best games ever that were like this were the original text-based Zork games, where you could have fucked yourself over at the start of the game, and it would never tell you. Ever. If anyone here has played Return to Zork, you know my pain. The plant at the start that you can't cut out of the ground, you have to dig out of the ground, because if you don't, it will die when you need it 15 hours into the game, and it never tells you. That is a manly game. So remember, phoenixes are fair. Wow. Following the threads of that conversation rant could form a constellation. And the Milky Way galaxy contains the lesser, yet still significant, angry, rage-filled nerd galaxy. Heading back to the game. Alright. Anyways, phoenixes are fair, you guys. You guys, phoenixes are fair! Don't worry, I had some caffeine. I remember my place. Let's go ahead and speed this sucker up. Jawcub, doing his best, doing all the chrono boosting. See, he dedicated to some sky toss. He has some cannons, he has some expansions, and all of a sudden Krizzle is about to move out with the deadly death army of Doom, Dr. Death Doom dead. Advancing forward. Oh my god. Pain Hurt is his name. Unintimidating names is his game. And yet with Sky Toss, everything flies. Phoenixes are so fair in large numbers. a single zealot, joined by his buddy zealot. There to give a cameo appearance as a representation of how weak ground units are. But don't worry, we're building all the air units. Oh shit, Zerglings. Well, in the meantime, Zerglings are killing off their Nexus. Okay. And now they're going to go down here to this here's Nexus. And alright, let's do force fields quickly. That'll prevent our building from sliding to the right. But fortunately, Jawcub has done what any reasonable player would do. Build carriers. I remember when I was in 6th grade, StarCraft had just come out. I had been able to defeat a computer using only 3 cheat codes, but not the invincibility cheat code, because let's be honest, that would be being a little bit unfair, right? Just show me the money and like some Operation Qual and some Black Sheep Wall. Just, you know, just a little bit of that. And I remember building carriers, and I got 5, because 5 was the number that I had decided was the correct number of carriers to have. And I remember my friend saying, you should get 12 carriers, it's way cooler. And I had an argument with him. No, 5 carriers is a lot cooler of a number to have. We got in a huge fight, and I had to call my mom and have her pick me up because I was crying and sobbing in anger and upsetness. I don't know why I brought this up other than to be close to you. Oh yeah, that's right, because he has 4 carriers, which is 1 short of me being correct. Or, you know, like 6th grade me being correct. Krizzle is no doubt building up a near-maxed army of death-doomed, deadly, hurt, pain-bringing Hydralisks. Heading up to the north end, heading up to the north end. Gathering, sitting still, loitering, considering their next move, advancing leftward, kiting the cannons for maximum micromanagement. Target firing so deadly, Jawcub cinching the most critical expansion at the top side, while in the meantime we get the meaning of fairness. That is so balanced, says every Protoss in the chat. I've always struggled with Hydralisks, and I figured I can make another use of the C button, other than building Colossus. So the carriers get built, the corruptors show up late to the party. How many corruptors are there? 15. Whatever, ever. Hydra corruptor, anti-air only. Or should I say, anti-air? Oh, Day 9 is so clever. He's such a pun master. And of course we see yet again air units designed to be air units plus ground units designed to shoot up at air units. Very fairly are in too low of numbers. Nerf Hydralisks. In the meantime, we see Krizzle having no base here, no base here. Up at his natural, nearly broke. His 3rd base, nearly broke, and not really mining. In his main, a backup set of minerals. But no problem, Jawcub will do his best. He has stayed focused this entire time. Krizzle shooting down interceptors, brutally costing Jawcub upwards of 25 minerals per interceptor lost. And that there, micro, proves too much. Jawcub micros to full blast with prismatic alignment. Krizzle just departs. You can't see it. You can't see it because it's hard to show up in text unless you have the right pack installed. Krizzle, rather than saying GG, actually just crossed his arm and bowed respectfully to his opponent to let Jawcub know how fair that was and how well fought it felt. I'm not talking about reality. I'm talking about feelings here. He felt respectful at the end. So we didn't get the chance to talk about Elfen Lied, but from my understanding there's yet one more part to this daily. So when we come back, before we hop into the games, there's an anime that I've actually watched all of, and I want to tell you about it. When we come back in part 3, we'll continue this discussion. I'll see you soon.